How do you know when it's time to raise your rates? This is what we're talking about in this week's episode. And if you're new to the Becoming an Online Sales Queen podcast, I want to say a big warm welcome to you. So glad that you found us. And if you're not new, if you've been here before, welcome back. I should probably share with you at this point as well as being a podcast, we are also a YouTube playlist. So over on my YouTube channel where you'll find other educational like sales tutorials, marketing-y type videos, you will also find a playlist for the show. So I do have my ugly mug on camera right now, as well as speaking into the microphone for the podcast. So just choose whichever way you prefer to access the stuff that we talk about here, which is always about sales, always about helping you to become more confident with sales, always about helping you to sign more clients, make more money, live a more abundant life as a woman in business. Okay, so glad that we are here together for this episode. When to raise your prices. That is what we're talking about. And I'm going to walk you through 7 signs that it is absolutely time to raise your rates. Now, maybe one of these things will be the case for you. Maybe more than one thing from my list of 7 will relate to where you're at in business right now. And that I want you to see as your urgency factor. If 1 out of 7 applies to you, then definitely start considering raising your rates. If, for example, 4 out of 7 apply to you, then I want you to rush. I want you to do it as fast as possible, okay? Now, just to give you some context around my own pricing, I've had my own little money mindset like wobbles over the years. I used to sell coaching when I ran a corporate training consultancy business, which was my first business that COVID killed off. I sell a coaching session for £95. £95. And worse than that, I thought it was too expensive. I didn't think anybody would come and pay those prices. I thought the only clients I would attract at £95 would be, the ones that like really needed it. Whereas, like now my prices go up as far as £40,000 and I don't think about who will or won't invest in my services. I just know that the right people will see the expertise that I bring and have the right level of urgency around them needing to get the result that I help them create. And it's a no-brainer investment because I always sell based on return on investment. Okay, so that's the first real point I want to make to you is I want you to really think about the result that you help somebody to create, the transformation, the outcome. What is the value of the work that you do? You are never going to be able to successfully raise your rates if you are not certain and sure about the value that you bring. Yeah, whether you are a coach, a consultant, whether you build courses and sell, education. Maybe you are a service provider and you sell retainer packages. Maybe you're a VA, a web designer, a social media manager. Maybe you're building an agency. Pricing runs through every single business, right? Everybody that sells something has to price it. And so pricing is often a really, really big issue for many, many people. Like I say, I used to sell coaching at £95. Now I can look somebody dead in the eye and say it's 40k to work with me one-to-one. You've got my mastermind, which is 9k, or there's a 5k option. And you've got my other program, which is 997 pay in full for the year. And so I can absolutely feel sure and certain when I give those rates that the ROI is at least 3 times the investment. So if somebody's coming to join my mastermind, for example, and they pay, 5k for 6 months with me, my head is always doing the calculation of 3 times 5k investment is 15k. Can I help them get 15k in 6 months? If the answer is no, I wouldn't invite them to join. If, for example, they said to me, yeah, I want to come and join you. I'll pay the 6k. I'd love to, 5k, sorry. I'd love to be with you for 6 months, working on my business, scaling up. And I say, okay, great. What do you sell? And they say, oh, well, I sell a £47 course. Then they've got to sell a lot of £47 courses to get that 15k return on investment. That is my minimum standard. It's not about like their result at that point. It's about whether or not I think I can truly, truly help them. Okay. So when you're putting across the investment to come work with you, you have to be certain that you can get that person the result that they want and need, the reason that they're coming to you. And you should be pricing every single one of your offers based on the value that it brings, based on the results and the outcome and the transformation that it creates, okay? So if you're starting from a place of uncertainty around that, that is the first thing I want you to really start thinking about. Who's been in your offer? What results did they get? How did the result that they achieved impact their life? How did it affect their business, their loved ones, their happiness, their legacy? Like, how did it really impact them? And from there, you can start to really work out what is the true value that I bring. So for me, I know people come and join my mastermind for 12 months, but what I teach them will last them a lifetime. Okay, skills for life, yeah? So if you're teaching somebody something that lasts forever, don't just think about pricing the term that they're with you for, think about the longer term impact, okay? So I want to dive into these 7 things because there are 7 really big signs that it is time for you to raise your rates, okay? So if you've got a notepad and pen, God, I can't speak. If you've got a notepad and pen, great. If not, I'm going to put these in the show notes for you. So if you look below this video, you will see a list of these 7 things, okay? So the first reason when you know it is definitely time to raise your rates is when you're fully booked, okay? I would even go further than that and say don't wait until you're fully booked. I would say raise your rates when you're 80% full. So if 80% of the capacity that you have is sold, that is when to raise your rates, okay? So I would start thinking about your rates when you're 60% full, and when you're 80% full, up they go, all right? If you already wait until you're 100% full capacity, you actually haven't got the strategic space and time to think about how you're going to communicate the increase. You haven't got the strategic space to go and change the sales page, change your payment plans, go into Stripe, make all the necessary changes for a rate change, okay? So the first sign that it is time to raise your rates is when you're fully booked, okay? The second sign is when you are working too hard. Yeah, this is linked to fully booked, but when you feel like you're absolutely flipping exhausted, then you've got to question, why am I pushing myself to the absolute limit? Why am I working myself to the bone? I need a pay rise, right? And this is no different to the mindset that you would have had in your 9 to 5. I know when I worked in corporate, if I was working really, really hard, and I knew I was delivering great work, but I was flipping knackered, I would have been asking for a pay rise. I would have been saying, hey, come on. My team are happy. We're smashing our targets. Everything you want me to do is being done. But I'm flipping exhausted. I would have either asked for a pay rise, or I would have asked for a rejig of my workload. Or I would have asked them to hire somebody to come and support me so that I wasn't having to work so bloody hard. Okay, so the second reason is when you're working too hard. That's one little sign that it might be time to review your rates. The third sign is when you are expanding or realigning your business model. So let me give you an example. I was speaking to a client about this the other day on a one-to-one call. She had previously got to where she'd got to, like 10K months average in her business, which was great. She wanted to get to 20K months, and she'd got to 10K by selling one-to-one services, and she wanted to bring in a group program. It was my recommendation to her that she brought in an evergreen, like a scalable group coaching program. But in doing that, in us talking about the pricing for that, the pricing was too similar to her one-to-one. So we had to talk about increasing the price of her one-to-one, because her one-to-one was taking all her capacity, and it was actually getting in the way of her being able to launch and enroll into a group. So when you look at your business model, you want to be looking at how close together the monthly investments are. So if you're using payment plans, for example, and you've got a one-to-one, a mastermind, and a membership, for example, you don't want those pricings to be really close, because what you are pricing, what you're selling, is proximity to you. Yeah, you're pricing the results, and that means that the closer they are to you, the better that they will get the result, the faster that they will get the result. I know that there's a lot of ladies in my sales accelerator that would love to come and be in the mastermind because they get closer proximity to me, and in their minds that they know that that means they will get faster results. Okay, so you want to be really thinking about your business model and the alignment between the prices, especially if you are offering a monthly payment plan. And every monthly payment plan that you sell is obviously going to stack your income and build your monthly recurring revenue. So you want to be offering those monthly payment plans, but you don't want to be saying to somebody, to work with me one-to-one is $1,500 a month, to join my mastermind is $1,300 a month, and to join this other program is $1,000 a month. They're too close together. They're too close together. And if you're now thinking, well, okay, what would be the right prices? Well, then drop into my Instagram DMs and just tell me what you sell, and I will be able to give you a rough idea. You know, obviously I'm not going to like fully coach you in the DMs, but I will definitely want to help you. Okay. So I would need to know more about what you sell, who you sell it to, and what the result is for me to give you very specific pricing advice. But if you just got a few questions, hop into my Instagram DMs and we can have a chat. Okay. So the first reason to raise your rates is when you're fully booked. The second reason is you're working too hard. The third reason is when you're expanding or realigning your business model and your current monthly payments and investment levels just don't make sense anymore. The fourth reason, when you know it is time to absolutely raise your rates, is when your clients are crushing it. When your clients are getting really amazing, incredible next level results, and you know that you can leverage your expertise and leverage those case studies to say, hey, look at the great work that we're doing. Look at how my clients are shifting. Look at how my clients are getting breakthroughs. Look at how my clients, they come and join me. I mean, there's one lady who joined my mastermind. 3 months later, she messaged me and said, I've made 55K in that 3 months. I would have never have done that without your support. So when you've got like results like that to share, come and work with me in my 6-month mastermind, and 3 months later you'll have 55K and you've paid 5K to be there. Yeah, like work out the ROI, right? It's 5K for a 6-month investment, and she made 55K in half the time. So when it comes to ROI, there's a really good ROI story there. There's a really good return on investment story. So I want you to do the maths on that, right? If your clients are getting incredible breakthroughs, they're getting the outcome that they came for and so much more, then it's time to increase your prices, okay? So that's the fourth sign that it's time to increase. The fifth one is when you're not getting any price objections. If you are presenting the investment to your potential new client in DM conversations, on sales calls, and nobody is saying, whoa, that's a bit out of my price range. If nobody is saying, oh, wow, I really want to work with you, but I didn't think it was going to be that big an investment. If nobody's pushing back on the price, it's time to increase the price. And then number 6 kind of links to that, because I'll let you into a little secret. I've actually had this happen to me. Somebody said, Rach, you're too cheap. One of my clients told me I was too cheap. Now, the first thing I heard was the word cheap, and I was like, cheap? I'm not cheap. And then I really thought into it and thought, well, actually, she's not saying I'm cheap. What she's saying is, by comparison of other business mentors in the market, other people that she could have gone to work with, the value that I bring her is way more than what she'd invested to be there. Because in my mastermind, you know, the girls have 3 calls a week with me. Now, they don't all join all 3 calls, but it's there if they want it. They get messaging support in Slack around the clock if and when they want it. Now, a lot of masterminds that this lady could have gone to join, she would have got a fortnightly Zoom call where she was in a Zoom room with so many other people that you get about 3 minutes speaking to your mentor. So you're like speed talking your questions so that you can get some value from your mentor for the $2,000 a month that you're paying, right? So yes, she said I was too cheap, and I was like, oh, I don't like that. I don't like the sound of that comment. But when I really thought into it, I was like, actually, this is a really big compliment, because what she's really saying is that she knows the value that she's getting far outweighs the investment, and she wants the best for me. She's a great client. She wants the best for me, just like I want the best for her. So maybe you want to ask a couple of your clients. Maybe you want to, ask everybody in your group program, or ask your one-to-one clients, or email everybody that's invested in your course and ask them about their value, about their return on investment, about their results recently. Even if somebody's like graduated from your group program 6 months ago, you could get in touch with them now and ask them, how have the results continued to come in for you? I know you got great results while you were in the program, but how has that happened over time? And they may come back with an amazing story for you to tell, yeah? So you need to raise your prices when you know the ROI is strong. You need to raise your prices when you're not getting any price objections. And you absolutely need to raise your prices when somebody tells you that you are too cheap. When they are looking at you in the marketplace compared to the people that are your perceived competitors. And I say perceived because I don't really believe in competitors, but the other people that do what you do. When you can look at your offer next to theirs, and actually like yours is a much lower investment and is actually giving so much more, it's absolutely time to put your prices up. Okay, so that's the sixth reason. And then reason number 7, this is a tough one. And I know when I say this, at least one of you will be feeling it. It's time to raise your prices when you feel resentment. Right, and resentment's not a nice word, I know, but when you are dialing into calls with people, or you're getting messages from clients and you're like, oh, not that again, like, oh, not another question from her again, or oh God, another 7-minute voice note to listen to. When you're feeling resentment because somebody is getting literally like blood from you for a relatively low investment, you know that it's time to raise those rates, yeah? Just gonna have a sip of water. My voice does pack up when I talk too much. Not really great for a podcaster, really, to have a dry, tickly throat. Okay, so we're back. So just let me give you a summary of those 7 reasons, right? Firstly, when you're fully booked. Secondly, when you're working too hard. Thirdly, when you're expanding your business model. Fourth reason, when your clients are getting incredible results and the ROI is strong. Fifth reason is when you are not getting any price objections. Sixth reason is when your clients say that you're too cheap. And the 7th reason is resentment. When you're actually feeling like, I'm giving you everything I've got here and you still want more, and you're dialing into calls feeling a bit of resentment, or supporting somebody in WhatsApp or Telegram or Slack, and you're feeling some resentment for the fact that you're giving everything that you're giving, right? Then it's time to put your rates up. And so how many of those 7 can you put a tick in the box for? How many of those 7 relate to you? And if you're now realizing that, yes, it is time for you to put your prices up, I want to give you some tips around exactly how you might do that, okay? So the first thing that you would want to do is assess your business model for the logic around your pricing. So assess and look at your programs, look at your offers, look at the way that people come and work with you in your business model, look at the options that they've got, the investments that they would need to make monthly and pay in full, and just make a strategic decision about realigning those prices, okay? And like I say, if you want to pick my brain on it, I'm happy that you dive into my Instagram DMs and I will give you some support. But firstly, you want to look at that business model. You want to be thinking about pricing for proximity, pricing for time, and pricing for value, okay? Value and results. The next thing you need to think about is the new pricing going to apply to current clients or future clients, or both? Now, if the new pricing is only going to apply to future clients, then of course you just need to go and update your sales page, make sure that your Stripe links are up to date, and that's it, job done. If you're thinking, no, I actually want to raise the rates for everybody, then you have to be prepared for the communication plan behind that, and the potential that somebody's going to say, well, I don't want to stay in the offer then. And that's absolutely fine, right? Because if you say, ladies, we've, for example, how would I say it? I'd probably say, ladies, we have up-leveled this offer so much since the day that you joined. We've brought in co-coaches, we've added more resources, we're giving you all of this extra stuff. I've added extra calls. We're changing the prices for new people joining, and we're increasing the prices for our current clients. This is what the new rate structure looks like. If you give that communication and people say, well, then I don't want to be here, well, then that's up to them, right? Because you allowing them to stay and giving in and therefore going, oh, okay, then I won't change my prices, is giving way to that resentment. Yeah. If people don't see the value, let them go. Let them go, right? But I'm sure you're amazing at what you do and they're getting great results, and therefore they will see that it's a no-brainer to stay. But you might want to think about updating your prices for future clients only, or if you do really if you're feeling that resentment, and you do really want to change your current prices, then get yourself a good communication plan, map out the timeline, get really, really clear around like what that's actually going to look like for you when you tell your current clients. What else would I say to you? So sorry, I've got a so yeah, you've got to be if you're going to increase your rates to your current clients, you've got to be prepared for the communication plan. You've got to be prepared to give them a certain amount of notice. You might want to get your coach or mentor to just check over the wording of the communication. Sometimes it's so much easier to get somebody to help you with a communication plan like that, because sometimes you're too emotionally involved in it to really get the messaging and the wording that you really want to have in that communication plan. Okay, so make sure that you're thinking about all of those things, how it's going to affect your current clients if you're going to update their prices. If you're only going to update prices for future clients, then it doesn't matter. But what I would do if it was me is I would let my current clients know that I'm increasing my program price, and that everybody joining from this point on will be investing at the new pricing, and that as a goodwill gesture, as a gesture of loyalty, you're going to allow them to hold their prices. Okay, so I absolutely would tell your current clients that you're doing it, just whether or not it affects them, affects the communication plan. Okay, so that's pretty much everything I think I was going to share with you here. I've given you the 7 reasons why you know it's time to increase your rates, given you a few things to think about if it is time for you to do it and you're wondering what is the best way to do it. Like I said, if you've got any questions, I'm here for it. The one other thing I would add, is if you're going to increase your prices, you've got to embody the identity of the person who sells a program at those new prices. Yeah, so have a think about what that means for you. I didn't go from selling £95 coaching to £40,000 coaching without embodying the real identity of somebody that sells coaching with a 40k price tag. It's obviously not 40k an hour. It was £95 an hour. Now it's 40k for the program. But you really do need to think about, are you embodying the identity, the energy of the person who sells a program with that level of investment? Okay, so that really is everything I was going to share with you. I'm here for all your questions. Let me know if you've got any ideas for any future topics that we can talk about here on the Becoming an Online Sales Queen podcast. Thank you for being here. I'll see you next time.